visit is considered one of the highest honors afforded to world leaders. Sir Ed said he and his wife Emily reached the decision after much prayer and reflection, adding that while turning down the king's invitation went against his instincts, it was the only way to send a message to both Trump and Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer. If Donald Trump tells Benjamin Netanyahu to stop this, it ends tomorrow, Sir Ed said, accusing the president of closing his eyes to famine, mass death, and the hostage crisis in Gaza. Trump has sent mixed signals on the conflict, calling for an end to real starvation but rejecting Palestinian statehood. Conservatives condemned Davies' move as disrespect to the king. Shadow Foreign Secretary Dame Priti Patel accused him of pathetic gesture politics, saying America remains the UK's closest ally and most important security partner.
A major UK study reveals outdoor play boosts children's social-emotional skills, yet many miss out after school. 1 in 3 children do not play outside after school, and 1 in 5 skip outdoor play on weekends, according to new research by the University of Exeter. The study, published in Wellbeing, Space and Society, analyzed data from 2,500 children aged 7 to 12 in the Born in Bradford program, which tracks families' health and well-being. Researchers found outdoor play strongly improves children's social and emotional skills, helping them better manage emotions, behavior, and relationships. But the study also revealed disparities. White British children were more likely to play outdoors after school, while South Asian children tended to play more on weekends. Children from less deprived communities appeared to benefit more from play, potentially reflecting access to safer, higher-quality spaces. Lead researcher Dr. Mark Ferguson called the decline in outdoor play worrying, citing links to obesity, anxiety, and depression. He urged urban planners to create safer, play-friendly areas. Former Children's Commissioner Anne Longfield backed calls for a national play strategy, warning that too many children are sedentary, on phones and alone, while their well-being deteriorates.
Britain blocks Israeli officials from its biggest defense expo, citing Gaza war escalation and push for ceasefire.
The UK has banned Israeli government officials from its flagship defense exhibition, the Defense and Security Equipment International DSEI show, scheduled for September in London. While Israeli defense firms including Elbit Systems, Rafael, and Israel Aerospace Industries can still attend, the British government said no official delegation would be invited due to Israel's ongoing military operations in Gaza. A UK government spokesperson said the Israeli government's decision to further escalate its military operation in Gaza is wrong. As a result, we can confirm that no Israeli government delegation will be invited to attend DSEI UK 2025. The move comes as Prime Minister Keir Starmer signals readiness to recognize a Palestinian state unless Israel takes steps to ease humanitarian suffering. London's stance mirrors actions taken at the Paris Air Show earlier this year, when France restricted Israeli exhibits, sparking diplomatic friction. Israel's defense ministry called the UK ban a regrettable act of discrimination and accused Britain of politicizing a professional industry platform. DSEI, hosted at London's XL Centre from 9 to 12 September, is one of the world's biggest military expos, backed by the UK government and armed forces.
researchers warn SUVs now dominate English cities, threatening safety, devouring public space, and prompting calls for Paris-style parking charges. The number of SUVs on English city streets has exploded, rising from just 3% of cars 2 decades ago to nearly 30% today. In London alone, the number of SUVs has jumped from 80,000 in 2002 to about 800,000 in 2023, according to analysis from Clean Cities. Campaigners say the rise of oversized vehicles is eating up valuable public space, pumping out toxic emissions, and endangering pedestrians and cyclists, particularly children. Research shows larger cars are deadlier in crashes, with high front ends that can obscure children in front of vehicles. Paris has already voted to triple SUV parking fees, leading to a 2/3 drop in large cars using surface parking. Advocates want UK cities, including London, Manchester, and Birmingham, to follow suit with weight-based parking charges. Oliver Lord, UK head of Clean Cities, said SUVs now consume as much space as an entire London borough, warning they pose a direct threat to safe, breathable, and accessible cities. While some councils, including Cardiff, Lambeth, and Bristol, are considering action, campaigners argue stronger national measures are needed to curb the SUV takeover before cities become gridlocked and increasingly dangerous.
Google has issued a stark warning to its Gmail and Google Cloud users after revealing that a notorious hacking group, Shiny Hunters, is targeting account holders in the wake of a massive Salesforce data breach. The breach exposed business-related information, which Google says attackers are now exploiting through social engineering and phishing campaigns. Among the tactics, hackers are impersonating IT support staff, often via phone calls, to trick victims into handing over login credentials. Google confirmed that several intrusions have already been successful, with stolen passwords being used to escalate attacks. The Shiny Hunters Group, active since 2020, has previously been linked to high-profile breaches involving AT&T Wireless, Microsoft, Santander, and Ticketmaster. Now, Google's threat intelligence group warns the group could escalate further by launching a data leak site to pressure victims into paying ransoms. With 2.5 billion Gmail users worldwide, the threat is significant. Google has notified affected users directly and is urging all account holders to take immediate action, update passwords, enable two-factor authentication, and remain vigilant for suspicious login attempts. Security experts warn this could be the beginning of a new wave of aggressive data extortion campaigns.
A Scottish member of the Scottish Parliament, MSP, Colin Smith, has been locked out of Holyrood following explosive allegations that he placed a secret recording device in a parliamentary toilet. Colin Smith, South Scotland MSP and former Labour frontbencher, had his Holyrood pass deactivated after the allegations surfaced. Parliament's corporate body confirmed staff were informed of the ongoing criminal investigation in an internal email. The claims come on top of Smith's earlier suspension from Labour over separate charges of possessing indecent child images. He is due to appear at Dumfries Sheriff Court later this year. Police are also expected to bring fresh charges over the alleged camera incident. Holyrood officials said Smith will be barred from entering the Parliament building when MSPs return from recess next week. However, he could still contribute remotely under pandemic-era arrangements. Labour said it had acted swiftly, stressing Smith is now classed as an independent MSP. Holyrood's chief executive urged staff to use confidential support services, acknowledging the distress caused by the revelations. Smith, a former teacher and ex-General Secretary of Scottish Labour, has said he is cooperating with investigators and described the episode as a deeply stressful time.
3 men behind one of the UK's largest nitrous oxide smuggling operations have been jailed after importing 91 million canisters through bogus catering companies. Carl Messon, 58, and twin brothers Thomas and Benjamin Richardson, both 38, brought lorry loads of laughing gas into the country between 2016 and 2018. Leeds Crown Court heard the trio laundered more than £16.7 million through fake firms such as Worldwide Coffee Traders and Catering Pantry International. Although nitrous oxide has legitimate medical and catering uses, a 2016 ban made it illegal to supply or import the gas if intended for recreational use. In 2023, it was further classified as a Class C drug. The Yorkshire and Humber Regional Organised Crime Unit revealed the companies existed solely to disguise the illicit trade, with more than £12 million in cash fed into accounts. Investigators said the gang knowingly sold the substance for illegal use despite the ban. Messon was jailed for 3 years and 6 months, Thomas Richardson for 5 years and 8 months, and Benjamin Richardson for 6 years and 2 months. Officials said the convictions marked a major step in dismantling large-scale laughing gas supply chains across the UK.
Canary Wharf is said to make a dramatic splash with plans for a floating Olympic-sized Lido in the heart of London's financial district. The 6-lane pool, designed by Sea Lanes, the team behind Brighton's National Open Water Swimming Centre, would sit on Eden Dock, directly opposite Canary Wharf Tube Station. If approved, the venue will open in summer 2026, offering year-round swimming, saunas, fitness classes, restaurants and a community clubhouse. The 1.3-metre deep, naturally filtered pool will be fully lifeguarded and accessible to all. Renderings show the Lido floating beneath Canary Wharf's towering skyline, a striking addition to the transformed neighbourhood, once known only for banking. The proposals mark another milestone for Canary Wharf Group, which has sought to redefine the district as a cultural and lifestyle hub. Visitor numbers surged to 70 million in 2023, boosted by new restaurants and the Eden Dock waterfront oasis, now home to kayaking and community events. CEO Shobi Khan said the new Lido would build on the success of Eden Dock as a unique wellness destination. Sea Lanes director Ross Gilbert added the project aimed to bring people and nature closer together. ANZ faces backlash after mistaken emails told staff to return laptops, revealing job losses before official conversations began. Australian bank ANZ has issued an unreserved apology after more than 100 employees received automated emails instructing them to return their laptops before being formally told they were losing their jobs. The Financial Times reported that discussions about redundancies were originally scheduled for next week, but the email mishap exposed exit dates early, sparking distress across the workforce. Bloomberg later reported that ANZ accelerated its plans, informing all affected employees of their futures by Thursday. In a follow-up email, Bruce Rush, acting head of ANZ's retail division, wrote, "Unfortunately, these emails indicate an exit date for some of our colleagues before we've been able to share their outcome with them. I deeply regret the distress this situation may have caused." The bank offered counselling support to the staff involved. However, the financial sector union condemned the blunder as a disgusting way for workers to learn about job cuts through a botched email instead of a respectful conversation. The incident comes as new CEO Nuno Matos pushes for efficiency measures and a strategic reset. While ANZ's share price has risen 18% in 2025, employee morale remains under strain.
Australia Post halts some shipments to the US as new customs duties and clearance rules disrupt international parcel services. Australia Post has announced it will temporarily stop sending certain parcels to the United States, citing changes to US customs rules that have disrupted international shipping operations. The move follows the US government's decision to end the long-standing de minimis exemption, which allowed packages valued under $800 to enter duty-free. From now on, nearly all goods shipped into the country will attract import duties and taxes, depending on their origin. Australia Post confirmed that in response to the new rules, it has paused the acceptance of some packages until updated systems and handling procedures are in place. The decision affects both individual consumers and small businesses that rely on e-commerce deliveries to American customers. Like many postal operators globally, we are adapting to the new US customs requirements, a spokesperson said. We are working with authorities and partners to minimize disruption, and services will resume as soon as possible. The suspension comes amid wider concerns among exporters and retailers that rising duties and stricter customs checks will slow trade flows, add costs for consumers, and disrupt small business operations reliant on overseas markets.
Rich Brown reveals he is bisexual, breaking AFL silence on LGBTQ players and challenging toxic locker room culture. Former Australian rules footballer Mitch Brown has become the first openly gay or bisexual man in the 129-year history of the AFL. Brown, who played 94 games for the West Coast Eagles between 2007 and 2016, told the Daily Aus that hiding his sexuality took a heavy toll and was a major factor in his early retirement. It was never once an opportunity to speak openly or explore your feelings in a safe way, he said. The AFL had been the only major men's professional sport in the world without an openly gay or bisexual player, even post-retirement. Brown said he hoped his announcement would create safety, comfort and space for others. He also spoke candidly about the hypermasculine culture of the sport, recalling homophobic slurs on the field and even a teammate once saying he'd rather be in a cage full of lions than shower next to a gay man. Experts say the revelation is historic, though real change depends on grassroots culture. Brown is being very open about the problems that need fixing, said Monash University researcher Eric Dennison. Brown, now 36, urged empathy and told closeted players, "I see you and you are not alone."
Canberra promises major environmental law reforms by 2026, aiming to strengthen protections while balancing development and climate goals.
The Australian government has vowed to overhaul the country's national environmental laws before 2026 in what it describes as the most significant reform in decades. Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek confirmed the commitment, saying the current Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation, or EPBC Act, is outdated and no longer fit to deal with challenges such as climate change, biodiversity loss, and sustainable development. The pledge follows growing criticism from environmental groups who argue Australia's existing laws fail to provide adequate protection for threatened species and ecosystems. The government has promised to establish clearer national standards, stronger enforcement mechanisms, and streamlined approval processes that would give both developers and conservationists greater certainty. Industry groups have long complained that delays in assessments hinder investment, while environmental advocates say weak regulation has led to irreversible damage to natural habitats. The overhaul is expected to include the creation of an independent environmental protection agency to monitor compliance and enforce penalties. Plibersek stressed the reforms would balance economic growth with protecting Australia's unique natural heritage. critics warn the government must avoid watering down protections in the name of efficiency, while business groups are urging swift passage of the new framework.
Doctors warn NSW hospitals at breaking point as 45,000 emergency cases swamp departments in just 5 days. New South Wales hospitals are experiencing unprecedented overcrowding, with senior doctors warning the crisis is among the worst they have ever seen. A surge in winter illnesses has left emergency departments struggling to cope, as more than 45,000 people presented to EDs across the state in the past 5 days. Health Minister Ryan Park said the figures highlight the extraordinary strain on the system, with staff working around the clock to keep services running. Our emergency departments are dealing with some of the highest presentation numbers we have ever seen, he said. Doctors say waiting rooms are packed with patients suffering from flu, COVID-19 and other seasonal illnesses, with ambulance delays compounding the problem. Some hospitals have reported patients waiting more than 24 hours for a bed. The Australian Medical Association warned the situation is unsustainable, urging the state government to expand capacity and provide immediate funding for additional staff. The crisis has reignited debate over chronic underinvestment in public health and the shortage of frontline workers. Mr. Park acknowledged the challenges, stressing that new measures are being fast-tracked to relieve pressure, but admitted there are no easy fixes.
A mental health crisis among Australia's youth has been laid bare, with new government data showing that a third of teenagers experienced suicidal thoughts or behaviour in the past year. The alarming figure underscores the urgency for stronger intervention and greater investment in mental health services nationwide. Experts say the findings highlight how social pressures, academic stress, cost of living strains, and the lingering impacts of the pandemic continue to weigh heavily on young Australians. Health professionals warn that without robust support systems in schools and communities, the crisis could worsen. The data has prompted calls from advocacy groups for expanded early intervention programs, improved access to counselling, and more resources dedicated to suicide prevention. They argue that young people are often unable to access timely professional help due to long waiting lists and service gaps, particularly in regional areas. The government has pledged to review existing support frameworks and expand helpline resources, but critics argue immediate and comprehensive reforms are needed to save lives. The figures have intensified debate over the adequacy of Australia's mental health response, with campaigners insisting that protecting young lives must become a top priority.
Melbourne University has been found to have breached privacy laws by tracking the movements of students during campus protests in 2024, according to the Victorian Information Commissioner. The watchdog revealed the university secretly collected and stored location data through Wi-Fi and surveillance technologies without obtaining proper consent. The protests, which centered on student activism over climate change and international policy issues, saw thousands gather across campus grounds. Investigators found the university's monitoring system recorded data that could identify and trace individual participants, a move deemed unlawful and disproportionate under state privacy legislation. Privacy advocates have condemned the breach, warning it sets a dangerous precedent for surveillance within academic institutions. Universities should be places of free expression, not covert monitoring, one campaigner said. Melbourne University acknowledged the findings, but defended the practice as a measure to ensure campus safety. However, the Commissioner stressed that safety concerns must still comply with legal privacy standards. The case has reignited debate over digital rights and the extent of institutional surveillance in Australia. Calls are mounting for stronger safeguards to protect students' freedoms and stricter penalties for future breaches.
Health Canada recalls Solstice jacuzzi heat pumps, warning models could overheat, spark fires and endanger homes this summer. Health Canada has issued a nationwide recall of thousands of swimming pool heat pumps over fears they could pose a fire hazard. The recall specifically targets several models of the Solstice/Jacuzzi 85K BTU heat pump, model S85. Officials say the units, commonly used in residential swimming pools, may overheat during operation, creating a potential fire risk. Consumers are being urged to immediately stop using the affected pumps and contact the manufacturer or distributor for repair or replacement options. Authorities warn that continued use could endanger homes and property, especially during peak summer months when pumps are running for extended hours. So far, no injuries have been reported, but Health Canada confirmed it had received complaints of overheating. The agency stressed that even without visible signs of malfunction, owners should take the recall seriously. The manufacturer has said it is cooperating fully with regulators and working to provide remedies, including refunds or safe replacements. Consumers can check the Health Canada website for details on affected serial numbers and steps to arrange corrective action.
Canada recalls Halva after pistachio-linked salmonella outbreak hospitalizes 10. Officials urge consumers to avoid affected products immediately. Health Canada has announced a nationwide recall of Halva products amid a salmonella outbreak linked to contaminated pistachios. The recall affects several brands of Halva sold across multiple provinces, with officials warning that consumers should immediately check their pantries and avoid eating any affected products. According to health authorities, at least 10 people have been hospitalized in recent weeks after contracting salmonella from pistachio-based foods, including Halva. Salmonella infection can cause serious illness, particularly in young children, elderly people, and those with weakened immune systems. Symptoms include fever, abdominal cramps, nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting, which in severe cases can require hospitalization. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency, CFIA, is actively investigating the distribution chain to determine the full extent of the contamination. Officials have urged anyone who has purchased Halva or other pistachio-based products recently to check recall notices and dispose of them safely. Retailers have been instructed to pull the products from shelves immediately. Health Canada emphasized that foodborne illness outbreaks highlight the importance of robust monitoring systems and consumer vigilance. More updates are expected as investigations continue.
Canada's healthcare sector faces mounting strain as reliance on temporary foreign workers soars, raising concerns about sustainability and staffing. Canada's healthcare sector is increasingly dependent on temporary foreign workers, with their numbers surging nearly 1,700% over the past 2 decades. New data reveals the sharp rise has coincided with mounting staff shortages, longer patient wait times, and growing burnout among Canadian nurses and doctors. Health experts argue that while temporary workers provide much-needed relief, the rapid expansion underscores deeper structural challenges within the system. Chronic underfunding, wage stagnation, and difficult working conditions have pushed many local professionals away, leaving hospitals and long-term care facilities heavily reliant on international recruits. Temporary foreign workers are filling critical gaps, but this isn't a sustainable solution, said one health policy analyst. We need to address the root causes driving domestic shortages. Critics warn that over-reliance risks creating inequities, as temporary staff often face precarious contracts, limited rights, and uncertain job security. At the same time, advocates highlight the dedication and resilience these workers bring, especially during the pandemic, when they were on the front lines of care. The federal government has pledged to review recruitment policies, but health leaders stress urgent reforms are needed to stabilize Canada's struggling system before it reaches a breaking point.
UK faces surge in low-value parcels from China, raising economic, retail and tax concerns as imports top £3 billion. The value of small parcels sent from China to the United Kingdom has surged to an estimated £3 billion, highlighting both the changing nature of international trade and the challenges facing UK retailers and policymakers. According to industry analysts, the parcels, often containing clothing, electronics and household items, are typically shipped directly to consumers through online platforms such as Temu, Shein and AliExpress. These goods are frequently priced below the UK's import tax threshold, enabling them to enter the country without duty or VAT, a loophole critics say places domestic retailers at a disadvantage. Experts argue that the rapid growth in such shipments underscores the growing influence of Chinese e-commerce giants in Western markets. However, UK trade bodies have raised alarm over potential revenue losses to the Treasury and the pressure placed on local businesses struggling to compete with ultra-low prices. Consumer groups, on the other hand, note that British households benefit from affordable options, particularly during a cost-of-living crisis. Policymakers are now weighing whether stricter customs checks or revised import thresholds are needed to balance affordability with fairness in the retail sector. The debate is set to intensify as online shopping continues its unstoppable expansion.
British car exports to US rise after tariff reduction, but industry still faces Brexit challenges and fierce global competition. Sales of British-made cars to the United States rose by 6.8% in July, reversing 3 months of declines following the implementation of a UK-US tariff agreement. The rebound comes after US President Donald Trump raised import duties on UK cars from 2.5% to 27.5% in April, triggering severe disruption in the sector. A revised agreement, effective from late June, reduced the tariff to 10% for the first 100,000 vehicles shipped annually, roughly equivalent to last year's export volume. Any cars above that quota, however, will still face the steep 27.5% rate. The Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, SMMT, welcomed the uptick, noting that the US remains the largest single national market for UK-built cars, accounting for 18.1% of exports in July. Premium marques such as Jaguar Land Rover, which briefly halted US shipments in April, have been particularly reliant on the American market. Despite July's positive figures, overall UK car production remains fragile, down 11.7% so far this year. Analysts blame rising labour costs, rising Brexit-related uncertainty, and fierce global competition. SMMT Chief Executive Mike Hayes said the modest recovery was welcome, but warned the industry continues to face turbulent times ahead.
Royal Mail introduces duties-paid parcel service as US ends $800 duty-free rule, reshaping transatlantic shipping for senders.
Royal Mail has become the first international postal operator to launch new services for customers sending parcels to the United States, ahead of sweeping customs changes that end duty-free entry for goods under $800. From today, UK businesses and consumers can access Royal Mail's new Postal Delivery Duties Paid (PDDP) services, designed to manage import taxes and duties on behalf of customers. The move anticipates an executive order from President Donald Trump, which comes into effect on August 29, scrapping the so-called de minimis exemption. Under the new rules, almost all goods entering the US will attract tariffs, with UK-made products subject to 10% and EU goods to 15%. Gifts under $100, however, remain exempt. Royal Mail said postage prices will remain unchanged, but a 50p per parcel handling fee will be introduced to cover clearance costs. Ian Johnson, Managing Director International, said the company had worked in a very short time frame with US authorities to ensure customers can continue to send items without disruption. The announcement follows Royal Mail's temporary suspension of US parcel shipments earlier this week as postal operators across Europe adjusted to the new customs requirements.
Police watchdog warns over 280,000 crimes missed in a year, raising urgent concerns about violent crime recording failures. More than 280,000 crimes went unrecorded by police in England and Wales last year, the police watchdog has found. According to Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services, HMIC-FRS, around 5% of all crimes between April 2022 and March 2023 were never officially logged. Worryingly, the failure rate was highest for violent crimes, raising questions about victim safety and accountability. The report warns that victims of violence are at risk of being denied justice and support when incidents are not formally recognized. Inspectors highlighted systemic weaknesses in recording practices, citing inconsistent procedures, under-reporting by frontline officers, and inadequate oversight as key factors. HMIC-FRS stressed that accurate crime data is essential for both public confidence and effective policing. Without reliable figures, resource allocation and crime prevention strategies risk being undermined. Police forces have pledged improvements with commitments to training and stricter monitoring, but watchdogs insist urgent action is required. For victims, the report is a stark reminder that too many cases are still slipping through the cracks of the justice system.
The UK government has unveiled the first electric vehicles, EVs, eligible for its new £3,750 grant as part of a wider effort to accelerate the transition from petrol and diesel to cleaner transport. The Department for Transport confirmed that Ford's Puma Gen E and e-Tornado Courier are the first models approved for the maximum grant. The incentive applies to EVs priced up to £37,000, with the most environmentally friendly cars benefiting from the highest discounts. In addition, 26 other models have been cleared for smaller grants of £1,500, broadening the scheme's reach across the EV market. Officials say the initiative is designed to make electric cars more affordable, tackle emissions, and help the UK hit its net zero targets. Industry experts have welcomed the move, but stress that investment in charging infrastructure remains essential if the government wants to boost consumer confidence. Despite rising EV sales, concerns over upfront costs and accessibility of charging points continue to deter many drivers. With road transport accounting for nearly a quarter of the UK's greenhouse gas emissions, ministers argue the grant scheme is a key step toward cleaner, greener roads.
A Northern Irish musician has officially broken the Guinness World Record for the longest continuous busk, performing for 24 hours straight. Marty Rafferty from County Armagh began his marathon music session at midday on Wednesday and powered through the night, only breaking the previous record just after midday on Thursday. Despite having already secured the title, Rafferty continued playing until 18 BST, meaning he could end up surpassing the record by a staggering 6 hours. The achievement has drawn local crowds and widespread attention, with fans gathering to cheer him on during his relentless performance. Speaking after he secured the record, Rafferty said he was buzzing and proud of the feat. "It's been an unbelievable experience, exhausting but exhilarating. Music has always been my passion, and breaking this record makes all the hard work worth it," he said. Guinness World Records officials are expected to formally certify the attempt once all evidence has been reviewed. Rafferty's performance not only highlighted his stamina and dedication, but also reinforced the vibrant busking culture in Northern Ireland. The musician now hopes his accomplishment will inspire others to push creative boundaries while keeping live music at the heart of communities.
2 Labour MPs have tied the knot in a wedding that blended both their cultural backgrounds into a week-long celebration. Jeevan Sandher, MP for Loughborough, and Louise Jones, MP for North East Derbyshire, married this month after Sandher proposed at home last year. Their engagement was first announced in the Commons by House Leader Lucy Powell. Jones shared the news on Facebook, writing, "Over August, I married my wonderful partner, Jeevan Sandher. We had a beautiful wedding that brought together traditions from our 2 different heritages, which made it all the more special as we start the next chapter of our shared future." She confirmed she will now go by Sandher Jones, though her parliamentary email will remain unchanged for the time being. The couple first met in January 2023 while campaigning in Loughborough, and said their shared understanding of political life has strengthened their bond. "We understand each other's lives incredibly well," Sandher said. The pair join a rare but notable group of married MPs in Parliament, such as Yvette Cooper and Ed Balls, and Virginia and Peter Bottomley. Their wedding highlights the fusion of personal and political lives in a unique multicultural celebration.
Homes across England are becoming dangerously hot, leaving millions of children sick and families desperate for relief. New analysis of the English Housing Survey 2022 by the Resolution Foundation shows that 5.5 million children, more than half in England, live in homes at risk of overheating. Over 1 million of them are in London, mostly in social housing. For parents like Keisha in Woolwich, the crisis is daily life. Her top-floor flat can hit 43 C in summer, leaving her 9-year-old daughter crying through sleepless nights. "It should be illegal to live in these conditions," she says. In Islington, Sarah recorded 43 C in her living room and says the heat made her young son physically sick. With scaffolding blocking ventilation, she runs multiple fans around the clock, but the cost is soaring. Experts warn that overheating is now a public health emergency. Buildings designed to trap heat are failing families in a warming climate. Doctors report children suffering nausea, confusion, and dehydration. The Resolution Foundation and medical bodies are urging urgent government action, including a national overheating strategy and housing retrofits. Without intervention, campaigners warn, Britain's homes will remain unsafe for millions of children.
On a sunny evening in May 2014, a speeding car crash changed Harriet Barnsley's life forever. Standing at a Birmingham bus stop with her best friend, Rebecca McManus, the two were struck after cars began racing at more than 100 miles per hour. Rebecca, just 21,
Major success on the economic front as well. Pakistan and IMF reach a staff-level agreement. After 14 years, Pakistan achieves current account surplus. The international organization has also confirmed
The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has approved a staff-level agreement on a $1.2 billion loan program with Pakistan under the Extended Fund Facility. The final decision on the agreement is now subject to approval by the IMF Executive Board, after which the funds will be released to Pakistan. In a statement issued by the IMF, it was said that Pakistan's economic stability is gradually improving, market confidence has been restored, and the country has achieved a current account surplus after 14 years. The IMF noted that Pakistan's fiscal balance program for the fiscal year 2025 performed better than targets, inflation decreased, and foreign exchange reserves also showed improvement. The IMF acknowledged the government's commitment to effectively advancing its agenda on energy, fiscal discipline, and structural reforms. It emphasized the need for consistent implementation of comprehensive policies to address environmental risks, especially in the context of recent floods that affected millions and caused over 1,000 deaths. Finance Minister Senator Mohammad Aurangzeb, confirming the agreement, said that constructive negotiations took place with the IMF mission. He described the agreement as a sign of confidence in Pakistan's economy. He mentioned that reviews of the $7 billion extended fund facility. He said that all options, including euro, dollar, and sukuk bonds, are under consideration. He further added that the government's privatization program will accelerate in the next fiscal year. Significant progress has been made regarding the sale of the national airline PIA and 3 electricity distribution companies. Following the resumption of flights to Europe and the UK, 5 international groups have expressed interest in PIA.
New grading system implemented in Sindh for grades 9 to 12. Passing marks increased and MD-CAT exam date announced.
The Sindh government has announced a new grading system for students in grades 9 to 12, which will be implemented from the upcoming academic year. Under this new system, students' results will be based on grades rather than percentages. The University and Boards Department of Sindh has also raised the passing marks from 33% to 40%. Additionally, new grading standards have been introduced to assess students' performance more fairly. Under the new grading system, students scoring 50 to 59% will receive a D grade, 60 to 69% will get a C grade, 70 to 74% will be graded B, 75 to 79% will get a B+ grade, 80 to 84% will earn a B++ grade, 85 to 89% will receive an A grade, 90 to 94% will get an A++ grade, and students with 95 to 100% will receive an A++ grade. The University and Boards Department states that this new grading system is in line with international standards and will provide a better assessment of students' academic performance. On the other hand, the PM&DC has announced the date for the MD-CAT 2025 exam. According to PM&DC, the MD-CAT 2025 exam will be held on October 26, with 140,125 candidates already registered. The exam will be conducted across 35 centers nationwide, with one international center being established in Riyadh. The results will be announced within 7 days.
Pakistani military delivers a strong response to the enemy, stating, "India must accept defeat." Unnecessary arrogance and controversial statements pose a serious threat to the region. Any aggression will be met with a response that India's generations will remember.
The spokesperson for the Pakistani military's Public Relations Department, ISPR, has strongly reacted to the recent controversial statements made by the Indian military leadership. The spokesperson stated that the world now recognizes India as the epicenter of cross-border terrorism and regional instability. According to ISPR, even 5 months after the May 2025 conflict, the Indian military leadership continues to spread traditional and provocative propaganda, which is being done in the context of India's election campaign. The spokesperson expressed disappointment over the Indian military leadership making irresponsible statements under political pressure, especially from a nuclear-armed country. The spokesperson further noted
that the Indian leadership is attempting to distort history and create baseless cinematic narratives. India seems unwilling to accept the decisive defeat it faced in the May 2025 war, and its false claims have been exposed. ISPR also pointed out that the contradictions in the statements issued by the Indian leadership are so clear that it is not even appropriate to respond to them. The spokesperson stated that India is misleading its public and the international community. These statements have turned India's military machine into a laughingstock in the eyes of both its own people and the international community. The spokesperson made it clear that Pakistan's armed forces and its people are fully capable and determined to defend the nation's sovereignty. Any aggression will be met with a swift, decisive, and intense response that will be memorable for generations to come.
No more ticket system. Parchi system abolished at all toll plazas in Punjab. Complete digitalization approved. One app, one system to be implemented like the motorway.
In a special meeting chaired by Punjab Chief Minister Maryam Nawaz Sharif, various departments gave briefings on development projects, including transport, construction, energy conservation, and city beautification initiatives. The meeting revealed that a one app, one system, similar to the motorway model, will now be introduced at 38 toll plazas to provide convenience to the public and ensure transparency and efficiency in traffic management. Approval was given for public-private partnerships for the construction, repair, and maintenance of 5 major roads. Private companies will work on these projects in collaboration with the government, which is expected to reduce costs and improve work pace. It was reported that e-tendering has saved PKR 40 billion in Punjab. The Chief Minister ordered the installation of solar streetlights on all newly constructed roads to promote energy-saving and environmentally friendly systems. Several beautification projects for Lahore were approved, including revamping the railway station, Data Darbar, Masiri Shah, and the One Moria and Two Moria bridges. A fountain and a mini-train for children will be introduced in the park in front of the railway station, and new roads and footpaths will be constructed within a 3-kilometer radius around the station. The meeting also reviewed the progress of C&W and LDA projects. According to the briefing, the recently flood-affected Chune Bridge, 142 small bridges, and 858 roads have been fully restored. The 230-kilometer-long Multan-Wahari Road is being made Punjab's first dust-free road and is expected to be completed by June 2026. Similarly, the tourism corridor from Quaid-e-Azam interchange to the Wagah border will also be completed by June. Across Punjab, 5,251 kilometers of roads will see 2,341 projects starting by December 2025, with a target to complete them by June 2026. The briefing also stated that road construction and repair projects in Murree, Chakwal, and most of Sahiwal have been completed. Under the CM Punjab initiative, the construction and repair of 10,000 kilometers of roads are in the final stages of completion.
Rassi jal gayi, bal na gaya. India has become the perfect example of this saying. After facing failure in any matter, humans often resort to unusual ways to salvage their pride. This is exactly the case with India. More details in this report.
In the brief war of May 2025, the wounds inflicted on the Indian Air Force by Pakistan's Shaheens are still being felt. To ease the burn, the Indian Air Force came up with an unusual solution, one so bizarre that you can't help but laugh. India brought the war to its dinner table. It's a strange tale. The Indian Air Force recently celebrated its 93rd anniversary with an event where they presented an unusual menu. The dishes included Rawalpindi chicken tikka, Rafiq Rara mutton, Paneer Methi Malai, Sargoda Dal Makhni, Bahawalpur naan. This controversial menu sparked criticism in India as well. Indian media outlets, including NDTV and The Print, criticised the event organisers. However, the Indian Air Force or the Ministry of Defence has yet to release an official statement on this matter. Meanwhile, government ministers and BJP spokespersons shared the menu image on social media. One of Modi's ministers, Kiran Raju, shared the image on social media, writing, "A fascinating menu was prepared on Air Force Day with dishes named after Pakistani air bases that were targeted by the Indian Air Force." The menu has sparked ongoing debates on social media between Indian and Pakistani users, with mentions of Rafale jets and Indian pilot Abhinandan. For context, the Indian Air Force officially came into being on October 8, 1932, during the British colonial era. On this day, 6 Indian cadets graduated from the Royal Air Force College in Cranwell and were awarded their King's Commission or official rank. Let's recall the war in May 2025 was initiated by India, and in response, Pakistan entered India, shooting down 3 Rafale jets along with 7 other aircraft, destroying key military installations and securing a historic victory.
Pakistani military delivers a strong response to the enemy, stating India must accept defeat. Unnecessary arrogance and controversial statements pose a serious threat to the region. Any aggression will be met with a response that India's generations will remember.
The Special Central Court in Lahore held a hearing in the FIA money laundering case. Judge Mohammad Aref Khan Niazi noted in his written order that all arguments regarding Pervez Elahi's acquittal plea had been completed. He also approved Pervez Elahi one-day exemption from attendance, which was supported by a certified medical report from Services Hospital. Pervez Elahi's lawyer argued that his client's assets were on record and that the FIA's allegations were baseless. However, the FIA prosecutor objected, stating that the attendance exemption was incomplete during the last hearing and no medical prescription had been provided. After hearing all the arguments, the court stated that the judgment would be delivered on October 25. Meanwhile, in the 9 May case, former Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi's acquittal has been challenged in Lahore High Court. The prosecution has filed an appeal against Shah Mahmood Qureshi's acquittal. The prosecution argued that the trial court's acquittal of Qureshi was against the facts and requested the court to annul the trial court's decision. It is worth noting that Shah Mahmood Qureshi was accused in the 9 May case, where he was alleged to have been involved in the protests that led to vandalism and damage to public property.
Saudi government takes a major step for the convenience of foreigners, implementing a new law. No need for a sponsor or housing issues, and you can run your business freely.
Saudi Arabia has released an updated version of its premium residency scheme for October 2025, offering foreign nationals a new opportunity to obtain permanent residency in the kingdom. Under this new law, foreigners will be able to live, work, and operate businesses in Saudi Arabia without the need for a sponsor. This scheme has been introduced to diversify the Saudi economy and encourage foreign investment. The scheme offers 2 types of premium residency. The first is permanent residency, which requires a fee of 800,000 Saudi riyals, approximately 213,000 USD, and is granted for life. The second is renewable residency with an annual fee of 100,000 Saudi riyals, approximately 26,700 USD. Premium residency holders will not need a sponsor and will be allowed to buy property in cities other than Mecca, Medina, and border areas. This scheme eliminates the need for a visa for free movement within Saudi Arabia, and residents will have direct access to banking, educational, and medical facilities. They will also be allowed to transfer money abroad. This new law is expected to significantly boost foreign investment in Saudi Arabia's economy.
Love knows no boundaries. A Catholic priest from Peru, caught having affairs with 17 women at the same time, resigns after the scandal breaks. Meanwhile, Bollywood rising stars Ahan Pandey and Anit Padda's romance is also in the spotlight, trending on social media.
A Catholic priest from July, Peru, Ciro Lopez, resigned from his position following allegations of secret relationships with 17 women. During investigations, it was revealed that Father Lopez had maintained romantic relationships with multiple women during his tenure, including a nun and a lawyer. Their complaints drew the Vatican's attention, initiating a formal investigation. The inquiry uncovered that the priest had engaged in unethical relations, creating a stir in Peru's Catholic community. Father Lopez denied the allegations, calling them a smear campaign and claiming it was a conspiracy against him. After completing its investigation, the Vatican accepted the priest's resignation. This controversy has raised concerns not only in Peru, but also across the global Catholic community. Meanwhile, Bollywood actors Ahan Pandey and Anit Padda's love story has once again gone viral on social media. Ahan recently attended Anit Padda's birthday celebration and personally fed her cake. The two spent significant time together, and an Instagram video showed them in a joyful mood. The video surprised fans, and rumours are circulating that their friendship may have blossomed into a romantic relationship.
Trump is always Trump, never shy of mischief. With a long history of controversial comments about women, he constantly makes headlines, often facing criticism. But who will make him understand? Sir, this can end your political career.
This story revolves around the Gaza Peace Summit held in